Hello, welcome back to another episode of CharlaFootball. I'm your host, as always, Gerardo Jerry Tavares, accompanied by Tomas. Tomas, how are you doing on this early morning? Morning.
Good, I'm doing great, bro. Just barely woke up, spam my phone, but it's cool.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. It's a little too early for this, but it's all good. I mean, we have to get our recordings done. We got to get content out, especially because when we got Copa America, we got the Euros. But today we're going to strictly focus on Copa America with a little bit of more highlight on the Selección Mexicana. Now that match day 2 is over for Copa America, we're going to look at the Mexico game. They recently just played against and lost against Venezuela. So that was a very historic matchup, and we're going to talk about that, of course. But first things first, make sure to follow Charla Football at CHARLA Football. Follow us on our socials as well. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all that good stuff. Support your small creators because together we'll make it big. But all right, let's just get right into it. So we both saw the matchup between Mexico and Venezuela. It was it was being hyped up to be such a good match. It was being hyped up since maybe months ago that Mexico would top the group, would easily beat Jamaica, would easily beat Venezuela, and now they have the matchup against Ecuador. And as we saw, it's not as easy as it seems, pretty much. Venezuela proved to be a tough test. Mexico did start off really strong, especially that first half. They had chance after chance. A team that struggles with creating opportunities, as we've seen in probably months and a few years prior to this. Today or on the day, they were all over Venezuela, at least that first half, but they were inconsistent up front. We don't have a killer number 9. Santi Jimenez is a world class striker in Europe, pretty much one of the best under 23 strikers, I think, behind Holland and some other under 23 players. But I mean, he's one of the world's best, and on the day he couldn't do it. I just wanted to talk to you and see what the hell happened right there. What is your diagnosis? What do you think? What did you see?
I mean, coming off the bat, I did see a different Mexico. More enthusiastic going forward. They weren't afraid to attack Venezuela,
I
and
agree.
they did it pretty well. Venezuela showed that they are a weak team in terms of transition. When you hit them with the transition, they're not able to adjust as quickly as a lot of South American teams are, like Argentina or Uruguay.
hmm
But Mexico can't finish. I mean, they had like two opportunities in the first 5 minutes and they couldn't finish either one. And then Santi Jimenez's golden chance and he just squanders it.
Do you think he would have scored that if he was in a Feyenoord shirt, not in the Mexico shirt?
Possibly, I think it's because I don't know what it is, but in Feyenoord, maybe he has. Well, yeah, I think he would have because, I mean, the support of the coach that he has in Feyenoord, that coach completely believes in him 100%. He's had games where he just fucks up and he's doing terrible and he starts the next game and he does better because he has that backing of a coach that believes in you, not one that pulls you out every 50 minutes. It's like you have a clock. It's like you're on a clock to score.
Mhm.
And if you've ever played as a center forward and you're on a clock to score, that pressure doesn't help you when it's coming from your coach.
Definitely, I
So yeah,
agree.
he would have definitely finished that if he was at Feyenoord because of the backing that he has there.
A lot of people are saying like after 60 minutes, like you said, they take him right out. I mean, you're taking him out for Guillermo Martinez, who, I mean, he's
You're
done
not changing.
okay.
Okay.
Sorry, what were you say?
My thing is that you're not changing anything. You're taking out a striker for another striker. Take out a winger and put a double striker. Go. You need a goal. Why would you take out man for man? You need to change your tactic a little bit and go for the goal. I mean, there's been instances where Guillermo Martinez was in the box or in that first cross. When he's in the box, he goes first post, nobody's back post. Where Santi, if you had a second center forward, maybe Santi would have went first post and he would have been back there,
Mm-hmm.
or he would have went first post and Santi would have been back there. I mean, and there's just so many circumstances when he missed when Guillermo Martinez misses the first shot, which was right in front of the goalie. I mean, if a striker was there to clean it up, he probably Santi could have probably done that. There's just so many instances when you're down 1-0 and going into the other person's box, you need as many people in the box as you can. It's just it astounds me that Jimmy Lozano is so, how would I
Rigid,
say,
almost like rigid, like stubborn. I would
stubborn.
say
He's
he's
so
probably
stubborn
stubborn.
stubborn with his tactics. It's so childish at this point because you see that they don't work. The coach doesn't have to. The players don't have to accommodate to the coach. The coach has to accommodate to the players that he has. And in Mexico, we don't have the luxury of taking players based on the style that we play. we need to take the best players and see what style fits all of them, because
Mhm.
that's how limited we are.
Yeah, I
And
completely agree.
terrible.
Now, now, what would be your diagnosis for the national team so far? Do you feel like it's? I mean, we are putting some blame on the coach, on Jimmy Lozano, but do you think it's fair to completely blame him, or do you think the players need to be pointed at too?
No, I think the players play a huge part, because the tactics of Jimmy Lozano for the first 60 minutes were what it should have been. A 4-3-3, which is okay. Not my ideal formation, but it's okay. It was working.
Mhm.
They were getting forward. They were getting on the end of some shots. You know, I mean, well, we mentioned it before. They were creating huge opportunities. They had I don't know if it was trained, but that nice transition from where Cesar Montes kind of takes the ball, carries it to the right side, and then has that big switch over to Quinones.
Yeah, yeah, I
I
remember that
really
part.
like that, and it creates space and creates chances. But my thing is this: Jimmy Lozano cannot adjust to, how would I say this? When the game needs something else, he just keeps the same formation. That's my only problem with him. But the players do have a big blame, because they had those opportunities. I mean,
I feel like
they missed.
Jimmy set them up for success, especially in this match. And like I said, in that first half specifically, but the players in this instance, in this match, definitely let him down. Because if
My,
Santi finishes his chance, would have been a different story. We wouldn't be talking about the game as how we are talking about it right now.
my thing is this though, because if you put in a more creative midfielder than Charlie Rodriguez, you create more opportunities. If you put in a more creative winger than Antuna, you create more opportunities. I mean, you
And we
have
have that. We have that.
yeah. I mean, in Football Picante, they were saying the most creative player of the tournament, Roberto Alvarado. He doesn't put him in. He puts him in as a sub, like when he was 24, 23. Like
Mhm.
he's 25, 26. He's already like in the peak of his years. There's no reason to keep him on the bench. I mean, he proved it in Liga MX, and you're playing players from the Liga MX in the right wing. Why? Antuna played as a far right wing forward, not a high right wing forward. I mean, Cruz Azul had a 4-5-1. He was practically a midfielder half the time.
Mhm.
And I mean, Alvarado is used to playing that sole right wing position, where he scored like three absolute bangers, and we saw him have like that crazy shot versus Uruguay where he almost, obviously it wasn't a goal, but he shows glimmers of hope. And I don't know why Jimmy just wants to die on his boat with Antuna. He
I
just
mean,
wants to
yeah,
die
when
with
you
Antuna to let him.
compare what Antuna gives you versus what Alvarado gives you, I mean, there's an argument to say for Antuna, as we've said before, that at the national team level he does perform, but in this tournament he hasn't, and in the few games, maybe the friendlies, he has. Give the opportunity to other players that have been showing, like you said, glimmers of hope.
And then
And
you have the best center attacking mid in this Concacaf Champions League on the bench. Why does he have Chiquito Sanchez on the bench?
yeah, especially because
What?
prior to this, he was a starter. Prior to, I mean, it was always Edson, it was always Luis Chavez, and then it was always Chiquito
Chiquito
Sanchez. That
Sanchez
was
at
like
a 10.
the trio, and they were doing pretty well.
That's literally how they tied Germany. That's literally how so many somewhat positive results happened. And why does he change it?
Hmm.
I mean, there's like speculation that it was pressure for Chiquito to sign an America contract. I don't know how true that is, but and at least that's just be
I mean,
saying
honestly, I
a
wouldn't
lot
be
of things.
surprised with anything, especially because he just signed for America. Watch him,
Yeah,
watch him start for Ecuador against
that
Ecuador.
really that literally proved the
The
theory of
whole
some people,
theory.
how the strength that America has in the selección.
Now, if we're Jimmy Lozano, let's put ourselves in his shoes. What would you do? What would I do if you can fix something?
I mean, you can fix it, bro. Like it's not too late. Maybe it's too late for his job. I mean, other than if he has a semifinal appearance, but that's probably not going to happen, because that was literally in his contract to get a semifinal appearance, because that's what La Selección Mexicana is used to in Copa America. At least they have three third place and two second place out of 10 participations. So that's half of the time they're either in semifinals or in a final.
And I saw recently that in the past three Copa Americas, we've been grouped twice. I think the last time we
Yeah,
haven't been
but
grouped was the last time we played in the States.
the thing is that those were our B teams.
Hmm. Except for
So
the one we played recently, the Centenario, where we got thrashed 7-0. We played with our a lot of
or
starters.
our 18, but we advanced out of the group, and we
Yeah.
actually won that group. Having not won that group, we would have played Argentina. It would probably been the same fate. My thing is this: that we have stubborn coaches in Mexico who don't take the best players; they take the players that they like the most. I mean, the same thing with Juan Carlos Osorio. We had better players at that time, but he benched him and took players that he liked more.
Hmm.
And it's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the directivos that they're their favorite players and they want to make it look like it's the coach's favorite players. I mean, Charlie's agent has to be working overtime to even getting him called up to La Selección Mexicana. I don't know what kind of contract he has. Antuna, again, same position as Charlie probably, but it's just terrible. I mean, we have so much creative midfielders where we're a team we create so little. We have Jordi Cortés on the bench who created a couple of not clear opportunities, but just being able to build out basically versus Brazil, which we haven't been able to do versus teams like Venezuela. Yeah, we created chances, but that was on long balls.
Hmm.
But it's a fucking mess, bro.
So, if you can fix it, what would you do? Like, what would be the first step into trying to fix your mess, basically, if you're Jimmy Lozano?
Right now, prior to the game versus Ecuador,
Yeah.
I mean, first things first. I hope Cesar Montes is
Fit.
healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at my right back position, I'm taking out Jorge Sanchez. Not
He,
because he's
he
bad.
didn't do that bad,
He's been
though. To be
decent.
honest.
He's been decent. But I just feel like Brian Garcia, like he had one of the best seasons with Toluca. And I'm not even a Toluca fan, but he's really good. He defends really well and he attacks really well with idea. And he has the confidence of coming off of a good season. Jorge
Mhm,
Sanchez does not have that confidence of coming off a good season.
mhm.
He's not even momentum right now. He looks terrible. He looks lost. He looks like this was his first games of the year, which they probably were because he wasn't getting a lot of playing time at Porto.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's like play players who are currently playing, like you're playing retired players practically at this point.
Honestly, I'm gonna disagree with that point only because I mean I would like to see Brian Garcia get more minutes, but Jorge Sanchez did pretty well, at least for the time that he was on the pitch. I don't know if he played the full 90 minutes. I don't remember, but he did play pretty decent from what I had seen.
My thing is
But
this: we have to better the selection. Like, why would you play? He's decent. He's not a bad player, but he's not in his best moment.
mhm,
We have to play the players that are in his best moment.
yeah,
Why would we play the? Because this is a problem selections always had that they play the players 2 to 3 years after the best moment because they say that you have to earn your spot. You have to earn your spot. They don't play the players the same season that they're having a good moment, which is just terrible. I mean,
it's just the same shit's gonna happen up until the federation realizes that
young
we gotta
season.
put our best face, and it's gonna be incredibly last minute when they realize that there has to be some sort of change because they finally started taking that initiative for change with this whole just sweeping away all the players that were getting their heads called for basically for the Mexican national team. But I feel like it's too little, too late. Pretty much, you have the
Yeah,
World Cup right around the corner, and between the Copa America and the World Cup, you're not going to have many tournaments or games to play for, pretty much, besides just friendlies. And you're not even playing the best teams in your friendlies, playing New Zealand. And I forgot what other team they're going to be playing in September, but you're not even
yeah,
playing
but come next tour.
that are going to give you um, a run for your money, that are going to prepare you for the World Cup. You're playing teams that are basically easy for a money grab,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
you're gonna beat them for sure. I don't know. It's just yeah, like you said, it's just a mess.
yeah,
If
boy,
I can
come next
fix it,
tour.
if I were Jimmy Lozano and I can do something to fix it, at least move looking forward to what's in front of me, the Copa America game against Ecuador tomorrow. First thing I would do is just switch up formation. I think
Yeah,
that would be the first thing I would do.
your best chance is probably like a 4-4-2 with
4-2.
with
I've
Santi
always
Jimenez
liked
up
the
top.
national team. I've always liked the national team when they played five at the back, especially when they were under Miguel Herrera and you play with the two strikers up front. And I'm pretty sure we can do something like that where we're more defensively solid. Midfield, we can figure that out. We don't have a bad midfield. And I mean, you play Santi Jimenez and Quinones up top. Why not? I think they would complement each other very well. I
I
don't know.
think
I think we can try, but
I think five at the back's too defensive. I mean, it did help us a lot. That was also our downfall versus Brazil. We didn't create a lot of chances. We really created on the counter attack and we tied 0-0. And then when we reached Netherlands, when they beat us 2-1, we kind of keep the same tactic with five at the back and can't even attack.
Mhm.
So I mean, imagine that happens in the quarterfinal versus, I mean, if we're lucky, Chile, or I mean, if we're unlucky, Argentina. And
Mm.
there's no way that we're winning that game. So five at the back, I think for me at least it's too defensive. I think a 4-4-2 is okay because you could hit harder with the counter on the wings, especially with Antuna at the right wing. I mean, if you're playing a 5-3-2, you need like three midfielders or play Antuna at the right back, and either option is terrible. Yeah, so
Now, what kind of hope do you have for the national team moving into the game against Ecuador? Do you think they can get the job done, having after what we've seen against Jamaica and what we've seen against Venezuela? Because all we need to do, our fate is still technically in our hands. We just need to
we
get a
need to win.
result, win
To win.
versus Ecuador, and we're through to the next round. Do you
Look,
think that's even possible?
growing up as a Mexico fan, you know the mediocre mentality where they shit the bed of the whole fucking tournament and at the end they advance. And I'm just tired of that, bro. There's been so many opportunities where we go to tournaments like the World Cup, where we're in the position to advance in first, where we're in the position to barely advance, and obviously we barely advance, but get knocked out in the first round, in the round of 16. And somehow, even though we're doing good for the first two games, we complicate it towards the end, or if we're complicating towards the end, we do get good in the last game. And it's just a mediocre mentality, which Mexico's always had, but at least there were talented players. Now there's not even that.
Hmm.
So I don't even know if they're able to get it done because before they were able to, I don't know, like comparing it to when you're a student, you make up like in the last 4 weeks, you make up the whole semester. But I don't even think they're gonna be able to do that.
So you
Like
think
beat,
Ecuador can get the win
like,
and advance to the group?
I think so. I mean, the way that we came out versus Jamaica was pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean Jamaica did have like their moments of brilliance. They had moments where they were kind of dominant. Obviously, they don't have as much talent as Ecuador does, but I kind of agree that it really on the day it depends on how Mexico feels if they can put their chances away. We know they're going to be dominant. They're going to try to have the ball as much as they can, but it's what you do with the ball.
Yeah,
That's all what it comes down to.
that's literally what it comes down to. And then if Jimmy Lozano doesn't change his formation at least going forward, they're gonna lose because Ecuador is just gonna score one goal and they're gonna close themselves up like Venezuela did in the last game. And we already know Mexico's not good at scoring. Not even playing. Just
The main
I was
thing
gonna
of
say
to
uh,
score, and that's the main thing that we're also not good at as scoring. It's like
at
there's no
scoring.
hope for us, bro. There's really no hope for
Like,
Mexico.
put two forwards in. Give yourself a better option. There's you have more possibility of scoring when there's more players in the box, just statistically.
Mhm.
And take out Charlie Rodriguez. I better not see him in a Mexico jersey again. Take out Antuna. He better be riding the bench for the rest of the tournament.
Guys,
They're just terrible.
let us know what you guys think of these Mexico performances so far. Let us know your predictions as well for the game against Ecuador. And if we get through, if for whatever miracle, because it's going to take a miracle for us to get through because we need to at least score a goal. And I don't know where that's going to come from. But if we can get through, and for whatever reason, I mean, we're probably going to play Argentina because we're going to come in second, most likely. If we get through against them, I mean, let us know your predictions. Let us know anything moving forward for the Copa America, please, in the comments down below. But now let's kind of wrap up the whole Selección Mexicana talk and just talk about Copa America in general. I think there's been a few surprises, and I want to talk about your prediction that you had prior to the Copa America starting, where you said that Panama were your dark horses. I kind of laughed at you. I did not agree with that take. I didn't see what you saw in them, but they are just one game away from advancing. And the US are this close to getting knocked out of the tournament. They need a result against USA. I mean, USA
Uruguay.
need a result against Uruguay, my bad.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot more difficult than Panama getting a result versus Bolivia.
Yeah. I mean, Panama practically already has the win in the bag. It's not even that Panama's been so dominant. It's just that Bolivia is so bad, bro.
Yeah, they have 0 points, the worst team in the tournament, as we already know for years. I mean, I don't know how hundreds of years, but for plenty years,
Thousands, maybe.
they've been they've always kind of been in a similar boat for Bolivia, where they just don't rack up any points in any major tournament, It's unfortunate for all the Bolivia fans out there, but it's just the truth. But
Yeah,
Panama has definitely surprised. Panama has surprised, especially with that win against USA. To be fair, that red card did kind of help them, aided them to get that win because I think an 11-man U.S. team can at least draw it, not lose it. But
the red card didn't really affect them as much as their own intensity level because if you look into that Panama goal, I mean, the striker's by himself versus three U.S. defenders,
mhm,
and he scores, but the ball's deflected. I mean, there was just a lot of defenders in the area. It's really just his will against three U.S. defenders. They're just not intense.
mhm.
It's like they were up 1-0 and they just relaxed. So as much as that 10th player has an effect on them, yes, it does have an effect on him, but you need to blame your intensity a little bit more. I saw a lot of people coming in for Greg Berhalter's job, but Samoya punches some guy in the middle of the field without the ball anywhere near him. I would completely blame him. One, that's the goal comes off of a lack of intensity in the middle of the well, not in the middle, at the edge of the 18.
Mhm.
They're just like staring at him. And on the third goal, I mean, the defenders are literally just watching the Panamanian forward go first post, and they're just looking at him like, oh yeah, go ahead, like advance, like I don't care. Like it seems so nonchalant, like they
Mhm.
didn't care what happened.
Like you said, it's the lack of mentality, the lack of energy, of awareness, or even care. I mean, maybe once they got that red card, they were already starting to doubt themselves mentally, and it's
Yeah,
those little moments that really screw up a match.
yeah. I mean, look, that red card set them up for failure for sure, but they also sabotage themselves. They
Yeah.
don't when you're on a 10 man and you score one, you have to defend solid. You have to clear the ball out. You have to do whatever it takes to not allow them to get into scoring opportunities, and they allow them into scoring opportunities.
Now, when facing Uruguay, I mean, I don't know if Uruguay's going to come out with their best 11 or he's going to give some rest to his players. I don't see him giving rest to any players. I think he's going to want to come out of the group with a perfect record and look the most threatening out of all the big Conmebol teams because obviously you want to make a statement and be what a statement it would be to make against US in their home. So if I'm Marcelo Bielsa, I'm starting my best 11. And if I'm Greg Berhalter, if I'm the U.S. men's national teams, I'm shitting my pants right now because Uruguay, there's no doubt that they are the favorites to win after the performances they've been putting in. Even I think even greater than Colombia. I mean, maybe just at the same level, but Uruguay. I mean, their intensity, the way they play, the way they move, the want that you see on the players, on the fans, like they want to bring a Copa America home because it's been years since they've had a Copa America, and I think this is the generation to do something like that. And they're gonna want to make a statement, especially against the United States in their home soil. So if
Look,
I'm US, I'm definitely worried.
the U.S. is not the favorite to win this tournament by far. Favorites
No, I
are
agree. Yeah.
Uruguay. Second, I'd argue Argentina because they have the talent. And third, I would say Colombia because they have a good amount of talented players and um, a solid strategy.
Mhm.
But my thing is this: the U.S. is not beating Uruguay, not even if they play their second team, because the U.S. when they play a team like Mexico or with a similar style to Mexico, they win. But when they face any other style, they shit the bed. I mean, they played against Germany, lost 3-1. Mexico plays that same German team and ties 2-2.
Mhm.
It's just how styles align. And on a high press team like Uruguay, who has the one of the best players in the world, and even if Marcelo Bielsa benches some of his starting 11, he's not going to bench all because as a high level coach, you know you never bench the full starting 11. You have 3 or 4 players from the starting 11, and if you're losing, you put that's you're able to put 3 to 4 more in.
Mhm.
I don't know how the sub rules are right now.
I'm pretty sure you get up to 5
But
still.
even if he starts with his B team, bro, where do these fools play? They play Liga Uruguaya. They play MX.
And
They
some
play,
probably still play in Europe and not
oh,
for
they
the
play
best team.
Eredivisie, Premier League, and the Brazilian league. So out of these 5 leagues, 3 of them, including the Brazilian league, are one of the most competitive in the world.
Mhm.
So Premier League, Eredivisie, and the Brazilian league, that alone is usually where most of these US players are at because they're at the Premier League and the Eredivisie. So they're playing practically. It's gonna be a fall game, even if they use their B team, because of the intensity this team plays and because how the styles line up. If the U.S. tie Uruguay, it's a miracle.
It's still not even gonna be enough, even if the time, because there's no way that Panama don't beat Jamaica. I mean, don't beat Bolivia.
Bolivia, yeah. I mean,
Panama's gonna definitely win that game. I mean, unless there's some shocking result from Bolivia or a miracle, which I mean, anything's possible, right? It is football at the end of the day. But Panama are gonna come out with, I mean, they're what is it called? El cuchillo dentro los
dentro
dientes.
de los dientes, el cuchillo
Yeah,
dentro de los
they're
dientes.
gonna come out with everything that they got because they have the golden opportunity to really make an impact in this Copa America.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the U.S. have set themselves up for failure, especially
Mm,
Timothy Weah with that red card, but also just playing like soberbio, like just playing like if they had won it all after going up 1-0.
yeah.
The U.S. ranks themselves way higher than they think they're at,
Yeah, I
and
mean, even on that note, saying that they rank themselves higher than where they're actually at. Every time they play Mexico, they can claim themselves as the biggest team in Concacaf, and it's a golden generation. I know we've talked about it before, and I've seen a lot of pundits talking about this in the media as well, where this is the U.S.'s golden generation. But when you compare that to Mexico's worst generation, they are beating Mexico in one of the worst generations that we've ever produced. But even Mexico is still able to, I mean, at least come up with better results. Like we talked about Germany, for example. They
yeah,
lost
I
to
mean,
Germany, Mexico at least tied them.
the worst Mexican national team in its history and the best U.S. national team in its history,
And they're still in the same level,
they're in the
pretty much
same
national,
level.
nationally or international.
They're in the same position in this Copa America tournament.
Yeah. If anything, I
One,
would say Mexico has a slight advantage because they have destiny in their hands.
yeah, literally, if Mexico beats Ecuador, that's it. If the U.S.
That they have to beat Uruguay.
They still have to wait for the result between Panama and Bolivia.
Mhm.
And if Panama and Bolivia win, what is it? So the US beat Bolivia how much? 2-0. Panama beats the
USB one.
US
Yeah.
2-1. So Panama's -1 on goals because they received three. So -1 and the US is up one. I mean, it's technically in their hands if they win because it's off goal differential first.
Well,
But if Panama thrashes Bolivia, because Bolivia's morale is so low right now,
Mhm.
I don't even think they have anything to play for. They might just let Panama win because they hate the US. I mean, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. Well, you guys, we'll see what happens, guys. Let us know your predictions for this U.S. matchup. I think that's also tomorrow or the day after. I'm gonna have to double check that, but definitely let us know what you guys think. Who's gonna get there? Now, on the topic of Concacaf in general, one my prediction when we were leading up into the Copa America, I said that Concacaf was going to be the biggest deception, and that's kind of proving to be true, half true, pretty much. The big teams in CONCACAF, I think, very have been definitely letting us down, at least when it comes to the likes of Mexico and USA. Maybe even Canada. They did lose the first match. To be fair, it's against the reigning champs in Argentina. But one team that has surprised me, at least in that first matchup against Costa Rica versus Brazil, they got the draw. You know, like basically, I guess that's you can call that a win-win for Costa Rica, but that was definitely a surprising result. Now they recently come off a thrashing against Colombia. They lost 3-0, so that doesn't really help their morale. But
Yeah.
I think just going off of that first match, I thought that was very surprising. I thought I wanted to just throw that in there real quick.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually it was a decent result for Costa Rica, comparing that they're the team that doesn't have players in Real Madrid, doesn't have players in Europe, and I mean, the only difference to this Colombia game is that they made the mistake of giving up a penalty early, because
Had they not gotten scored
had they
on,
not gotten scored on off a penalty, they would have defended very well the rest of the game because they wouldn't have had to open up.
yeah, especially because
And
the
really,
second
if you're
one comes
playing,
off of a corner kick too. I mean, we all know Costa Rica is defensively. They've always been pretty solid. They're
yeah,
good at
they've
parking the
always
bus,
been.
at holding their own, and like you said, yeah, I agree that if they had not been scored on early with that first penalty by Luis Diaz, I think the result would probably could have been a lot more different, or they could have what is it
lost
called?
by
Damage limitation? Like, they could have limited the damage for sure.
yeah, for sure. That's what really affects them. Now, going on to a little bit into the future of their game versus who are they facing now? So it's Costa Rica, Brazil, Colombia, Paraguay. So going on their game versus Paraguay. Um,
Costa Rica still have a chance. I mean, Paraguay just got battered 4-1 to a Brazilian team who finally look like they're awake.
Colombia's gonna play Brazil with their A squad most likely, and Brazil's probably gonna use their A squad as well. And I mean, if Colombia beats Brazil and Costa Rica beats Paraguay, they advance.
Because they have
They have a
the.
point.
Mhm.
Oh no, no, wait.
Well,
No, yeah,
no, I
because
mean, oh wait.
Brazil have
'Cause-
4 points right now.
Oh yeah, they do
Brazil
have.
have 4 points
Colombia
because
could
they
probably
tied.
win that game. They would be on 9 points. They would have the perfect.
Perfect advancement, and they have. Let me see. Brazil would have. So they have 4 goals. No, they have 3 goal advantage.
Let me look it up just to be accurate, just to be very sure. Copa America, what group are we looking at? This is Group D. Right now, Colombia's sitting in first with 6 points. Brazil in second with 4 points with the +3 goal differential. Costa Rica with 1 point with a -3 goal differential.
1 point minus 3 goal differential.
Costa Rica beats Paraguay. They are on 4 points as well, but
Yes,
it's not going to be enough. They would need to beat Paraguay by
like 5-0.
5-0. Maybe no, it would have to be more than it would have to be like 6-7-0. And Brazil would have to lose at least like 3-4-4-0 to kind of even it out. I mean, anything is possible, but yeah, never mind. I don't really see
It's more likely that Brazil loses 4-0 than that
it.
Costa Rica wins 4-0.
There's a lot of big things going on in this Copa America for sure. Honestly, just on a quick note, I wanted to ask you this question. I didn't put this in our notes or nothing like that, but what tournament has been the best so far? Do you think the Euros or the Copa America?
It depends what you look for. If you look for intensity and, I mean, defensive solidarity, it's definitely the Copa America. But if you look for just pure talent and magic and just mid range long shots, then it'd be the Euros. But then again, the Euros defensively have not been the best. I mean, there's been so many own goals, and there's just so many goals in general. The Copa America has been more solid defensively, which really shows you the originality of soccer of defend first, attack later,
Mhm.
because that's how soccer really used to be. I mean, even in the European nations, that's how it usually was for many years. But if you look at it, it just depends what perspective you look at it. Because I personally, I am more entertained watching. Actually, both of them are pretty entertaining because there's just so many bickering and so many rivalries from South American versus North American nations, and it's pretty entertaining. I mean, that Mexico Venezuela game. I mean, you have Julian Quinones just literally just
Getting into
yelling into Salomon Rondon's face, and Salomon
yeah.
Rondon yelling at him, and it's just so intense. And when that final whistle blows, all of a sudden you hear like a roar of like 50 Venezuelans that were there in the game, and it's just, I mean, that's really something beautiful. But
I think I agree with you where it just comes down to what you're looking for. If you like
yeah,
that grit, if you like that South American or just Latina sazon, I guess you can call it, just that little bit of spice that these Copa America teams can give you, where they go in dirty. It looks like very scrappy kind of ball. It's not the perfect playing style because these teams, that's just how the Conmebol and Concacaf teams play. They bite very hard versus European style games. They're very technically gifted in a different sense where it's a lot more patient. They build up a lot better, and yeah, overall I think it just depends on what you're looking for. For
yeah,
me, I would probably take the Euros just because when I'm looking at the environment, because I feel like the environment has a big role to play in. um Still, also kind of just off the note, the Copa America has definitely fallen short in terms of the environment, like the fan culture. I feel like a lot of the stadiums, they're not even close to sold out. It looks pretty empty, especially when you're watching games like Canada versus, when was it? Canada played Peru.
Argentina or Peru,
No,
Peru,
no,
Peru,
no,
yeah,
no.
Peru.
Or Peru Chile, even I forgot what game it was, but even like the lower tier teams playing against each other, not the big team versus a smaller tier team. I'm talking about like two low level teams
The
when they
thing
play
is
against
this
each other,
though.
it's an empty stadium.
The
But
thing
when
is this.
like
Like,
hold on, let me get this out. When Turkey played against Georgia in the Euros, full stadium, electric atmosphere, probably one of the best games of the tournament.
the thing is this though. Like to come into the U.S., most of these Latin American countries are required a visa.
Mm,
Whether it's a tourist visa, whether it's a student visa, whatever visa, they're required a visa. In Europe, you're not. As long as you were born in Europe, you could travel pretty much anywhere except I think for the UK maybe. No, even the UK. There were so many. There were so many people from Germany, from Spain that just came in freely into the UK, and that's like the whole thing. The US is so restrictive when people come here
yeah, I hope
because
they really figure that out, honestly, because I'm worried how that's gonna make us look in the World Cup. I mean, imagine having a World Cup in our own home, but you can't even fill out a whole stadium compared
yeah,
to over here in Germany.
it's terrible because the US does have a lot of they don't ask for a lot of visas from Europe, but usually that's like probably the top five countries like Italy, Spain, Germany, France, obviously.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's just that, bro. It's just it's so much easier to get a fan base in the Euros because they have that European Union.
Hmm.
Here it's you can't really go as much as you wanted to unless you somehow already here or somehow have a visa through however you got it. And
Yeah,
it's difficult.
it's unfortunate because I really want to see football grow to the level of a European culture because I mean the way they live football over there is it's just completely different. And I know that we have at least the Latin culture has the passion, maybe even more than the European countries, but it's just not the resources. Versus European countries have the passion and the resources, so it's just a better
Yeah.
combination overall over there. But I mean, that kind of wraps up the Copa America talk. We went in on Selección Mexicana because they need a reality check, and I mean, we'll see what happens against Ecuador. Like I said, let us know what you guys think in that matchup against Ecuador. If Mexico can get through, we talked about Copa America in general, all the surprises, the shocks, and just a few interesting questions that were raised. Overall, just thank you guys for listening. Support your small creators, Tomas. Thank you for always helping out in the pod, especially since it is a little early. I know didn't mean to wake you up for this, but I appreciate you as always, bro.
For
And
sure.
make sure you guys follow us on our personal socials. Follow the page on all socials. Support your small creators because together we'll make it big. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
So